And welcome back to the BSD YouTube show. Your host, I would say as always, but I missed the last two episodes, Patrick Kerbler, joined by Tim Aiden, who took over hosting duties and did a great job. Tim, the Penn State regular season is over. They beat Rutgers. They become bowl eligible. We'll be talking about that today. And we'll be talking about this never-ending coaching search as well. We'll start with Rutgers, though. Penn State beats Rutgers 42-36. Like I said before, they become bowl eligible. And what was a exciting Penn State Rutgers game. I mean, it's been a while since we've had any sort of excitement of any
drama.
Yeah, I guess drama is a better word than excitement because you go back to the 2014 season when Penn State played Rutgers and wasn't exciting, but at least was a close game. And this one was a back and forth contest. Penn State does come out with the win. Major takeaways, just thoughts on that game, which, I mean, I thought it was fun. Looking at our Slack channel and some of the replies on Twitter while I was tweeting it, doesn't seem like everyone else had fun, but what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I had fun, Pat. You saw my Slack messages, you'll know why I say that. But if you're a neutral observer, at least, I mean, I'm sure you enjoyed the offensive fireworks in this one. Both teams had over 500 yards total offense. So do the math, they combined for over 1,000 yards. The big takeaway: Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton in what's, I'm going to guess, is their last game in Penn State uniform. I'd be surprised if they don't opt out of the bowl game. But Katron had a career high 226 yards on the ground, averaged 10.3 yards a carry. So essentially it's a first down per carry, which is insane. Singleton came pretty close to 100 yards. He racked up 2 touchdowns, broke Saquon Barkley's record for the all-time touchdowns leader in program history. And actually, Katron Allen did become the first and only 4,000-yard rusher in Penn State history. So congrats to both of them. That's the big takeaway. Also, while we're sticking to the offense, Andrew Rapplier, I think he's clearly becoming our tight end number one. It's great to see how he seems to have finally shaken off the rust these last few weeks and become a real weapon in this offensive attack, because we heard so much hype about him coming in as a recruit, and then he got injured and, spent most of this season coming back from that. But boy, he was pretty clutch yesterday, I would say. Defense, it was a crap show, but you know what? When they absolutely needed to come up with a big play, they came up with it. I mean, I'm not just talking about Amari Campbell's scoop and score on whatever the hell that was that Rutgers quarterback was trying to throw it and just fell out of his hand. But
the most Rutgers play of all time. And I even said, I still thought Rutgers was going to win, but it is very Rutgers that they finally, right after decades, they have Penn State on the ropes. They're at that point, I mean, they're dominating the game. It looks like that they're going to go for the jugular and knock Penn State out, and the ball just falls out of Kelly McManus's hands. So we'll take it how we can get it.
Yeah, and also the stop by Zion Tracy on 4th and 1. Kelly McManus kept it on an RPO, which if he had handed it off to the running back, Antoine Raymond, denied as someone's there ready to blow it up. But I mean, great heads-up play by Tracy to realize that Aitken kept it and, made sure to not allow him to, move across the sticks. So, so ugly day for the defense, but when they absolutely had to, they came up with a couple clutch plays, and which ended up in a game like this, a close score like this. It's the little things sometimes that add up, and so in the end, it helped make a difference.
No, and that's kind of one of the big question marks previously, or one of the big problems previously was, even with these Penn State elite defenses, and not to say, I think, by and large, it was always the offense that kind of held Penn State back, but we can even think that this year of, the Oregon game, the Indiana game, the defense also had their opportunities to seal wins, and then they weren't able to do it. So despite giving up, 36 points to Rutgers and then having Kelly McManus throw for over 300 yards and Antoine Raymond run for nearly 200 yards as well, They got the stops when they needed to. So that's I don't want to say that's all you can ask, because I personally will be asking for more from this Penn State defense moving forward than giving 36 points up to Rutgers, but they at least made the plays when they did. Let's go back and let's talk more about Katron and Nick Singleton, who both got off to like crazy good starts. I don't have the exact numbers, but I think on their first 4 carries, they both had over 70 yards. I want to say Singleton had 74 yards and Katron had 79 yards. So they got started early and they continued on. Katron with 226 yards on the night, Singleton with 86 yards. And I do want to share a tweet from Darian Summers. Let me just share my screen. Former Daily Collegian guy, Darian Summers. I know he does some Penn State stuff as well. Katron in his first 6 games had 78 yards per game on average. And in his last 6 with Terry Smith, he's at 139 yards per game. Tim, how frustrating is that to read?
It really makes you wonder, like, what the hell was James Franklin doing?
Especially at the end. The Northwestern game is like so confounding.
I mean, but even from the very beginning, I mean, Katron should have been the guy getting the majority of the carries. And yeah, obviously there's room for Nick Singleton to get some run too. He brings a certain skill set that maybe Katron lacks a bit, but overall, like, your best, like, a roundabout rusher, I mean, that's Katron. I mean, guy has power, combination of power, speed, and shiftiness. I mean, he was clear number 1 guy, and it was just real malpractice to not, by Franklin and I guess the offensive staff to not give him the bulk of the carries from the get-go and use Singleton strategically, especially to get him. Singleton does best when you get him already running forward, or you get it ball to him in space.
Yeah.
Like, give him room to operate. He's not like a hand it off to him and he just, crashes through the line, tries to go off tackle. That's not his game. Like, you got to get it to him in space. So, I mean, it is a real, like, what could have been.
Yeah. Katron carries with Franklin 8, 16, 10, 12, 8, and 16. With Terry Smith, it's been 28, 21, 19, 25, 25, 22. And the 19 was the Indiana game where Katron really didn't have that much success. He only ran for 48 yards, 2.5 per carry. His long run was 7 yards. So they still were trying to feed him.
Got a question here from Bob Bowie. Says, did NIL people pressure Franklin to play Singleton? I don't know, Bob Bowie. I mean, I guess I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of it, because you don't bring Singleton and Allen back, both of them, if you're not offering them a big bag. And I'm sure that's part of it, but I don't know. I'm not privy to what exactly was going on with that whole situation.
Even if it was, right, even if it's the idea of, okay, Nick Singleton is one of the top 3, top 5 highest paid players on the roster, which I certainly say is top 5. You would just think for James, at some point you played the guys that deserve to be played the most. And again, it's not even yes, Nick Singleton certainly has struggled this year, but it wasn't even so much a Nick Singleton is not a good running back thing as much as it was Katron is just that much better. And that's the thing, like, especially after the Oregon game, like, and then losing UCLA, like, at that point, should have been, fire alarms and sirens of it needs to be Katron. Like, this season is unraveling. You cannot afford another loss. Like, Franklin's, like, coaching career aside, like, just for this team for this season, like, you needed to get things back on track. UCLA should have been the darkest hour, and instead they let it ravel into Northwestern, where they still just didn't get Katron the ball enough. So I know that we don't want to continuously just talk about James Franklin and things that happened earlier this season, but it all ties together. But yeah, we'll see if they play in the bowl game. We can talk about the bowl game a little bit. do we think that Penn State plays in a bowl game? Like, do we think that they field a roster? Do we think that Penn State plays in a bowl game?
Well, Terry Smith did say I think it's at a press conference or even before that the game was played that they would accept a bowl invite if they got it. And and I think he knows the locker room better than either of us do. So my guess is there would be able to field enough people for a 2-deep to play a bowl game. Now, of course, I could definitely, like I said before, I think Katron and Nick would probably opt out, as would guys like Denai Dennis Sutton, Zane Durant, maybe Zakiya Wheatley. I mean, it's like, I don't know how much more they can boost their draft stock at this point. And
sure,
you're just risking or unnecessarily risking injury in a meaningless bowl game.
It's also become acceptable, right? It's one thing for a player to opt out of like the end of the regular season. That still isn't like accepted. Bowl games, this has been happening for a decade now. It does help that the portal has been pushed back to January 2nd, right? In previous times, the portal would be opening, I think, starting Monday, if not the following Monday. So instead, we get all of December where the portal is not open. So it's not like you're going to have guys actively in the portal. Will we see, like, whenever Penn State makes his hire, will guys announce that they will be entering the portal? I don't know how the process will go, but I do think that we see Penn State in a bowl game. I think they fill enough players that they're able to play. What are you like hoping for from the bowl game? Because I very much want Pinstripe Bowl. I don't greatly care who it's against. I want the Pinstripe Bowl because I'll be able to go to it. I don't greatly care who it's against. Like, I know a lot of people are saying like Pitt. I mean, yeah, I guess like in one sense it'd be cool to play Pitt, but also it'd be Penn State's B team, and I think Pitt would probably beat Penn State's B team. But do you have any hopes or dreams for where Penn State goes, who Penn State plays, anything like that?
I prefer Pinstripe. You'll probably get the biggest contingent of Penn State fans turning out for that one. I mean, New York City areas, large alumni base, and also just in the people a lot of alums that live within a few hours of New York as well. So I'm sure they would get a decent turn. I'm not going to say it would be on the same level of the 2014 Pinstripe Bowl, which was the first bowl game they played post sanctions, but it was also ironically Franklin's first year. But you probably get the best turnout of fans for that one. I don't know. I prefer to play maybe Clemson just to mix it up. And it'd be interesting to, it'd be a match between two teams who were preseason top 5, who both harbor national championship hype expectations going into this season. And now here they are playing in a late December bowl game in the Yankee Stadium. And also, like I said, they played Pitt, especially if I'm figuring of all the opt-outs, Pitt would probably beat them, and then they wouldn't stop talking about it until.
Oh, Tim, we have breaking news.
Huh?
Jonathan Smith has gotten fired at Michigan State. Sorry, I had to do that to you. I think that's Pat Fitzgerald.
You got me good there, Pat. I'll admit.
I think Pat Fitzgerald has found his landing spot, would be my guess. But no sourcing on that. Just simply my
interesting. I thought I was wondering what was going to happen to Jonathan, because I figured he would have gotten fired after losing to Penn State, which knocked him out of bowl eligibility.
Yeah, I think it was just
at that point there was. They might as well just let him ride it out.
Yeah, I think at that point timing didn't necessarily matter. But no, just to say about your Clemson point, yeah, it is pretty funny to think if we think back 2 months ago. I mean, I guess more like 3 months ago at this point, and said, Penn State, Clemson in December, we all been like, oh, sweet, college football playoff, let's go. Instead, we get the friendly confines of Yankee Stadium potentially. We'll see. Bowl matchups and everything won't be announced until next Monday, so we certainly have this week to figure things out. My guess is that
probably Sunday, actually. Usually Sunday.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah,
when they announce all the bowls at the same time as the playoff games get announced too.
Yeah, I think we'll have a pretty good idea where Penn State will go, and I just also think like, especially nowadays, like previously, I think that bowls were very adherent to like the slotting and like we can only take this, we can only take that. I think nowadays it's a little bit different. If you're the Pinstripe Bowl, right, playing in New York, I think Penn State is a team that you probably do everything you can so you can get them, because that, right, getting Penn State versus getting Nebraska again, or getting Minnesota, or whoever it might be from the Big Ten. But we'll see. Not hugely important. Anything else from the Penn State Rutgers game? Ethan Grunkemeyer, man. Let's talk about
Yeah,
Ethan.
let's talk about Gronk.
He's a good quarterback. I don't know. It's tough to say without knowing who the coach is going to be. I would have to think that whoever the coach is, knowing what Pat Kraft wants, knowing how Pat Kraft has said about being aggressive in the portal and stuff like that, that they at least do go big game hunting for a portal quarterback. But man, Gronk is solid. Like he really is. It's like important to remember that he is only a second-year player. I think that there's a lot that he can grow from, and I think that all in all, like these last 6 games, if Gronk is your starting quarterback for Penn State, or if he's a starting quarterback, like I think he's proven to be a power 4 starting quarterback.
Yeah, I really think whoever the next guy is, they would be wise to try to convince him to stay at Penn State, even if they do. And look, you're going to have to bring a couple guys for the portal anyway, because, I mean, obviously your Drew Hours done, and then my guess is I think Jackson Small's going to portal out.
Probably, yeah.
And Beckham Kreitz, I'm sure he's a good kid, but let's be real, he's never going to see the field for meaningful snaps in a Penn State uniform.
Certainly not someone you can count on, right?
No, not someone you can count on. My guess is he probably portals out too. So you're going to have to bring in and we only obviously 26 classes decimated. There's no quarterback there, so you're going to have to bring at least 2 portal QBs. So regardless, and it's good to give Gronk some competition too. Can't just obviously hand him the starting job for next year already, but he would certainly be a front runner, I would assume, at least. But you got to give him competition regardless. So you're going to bring a couple portal guys and try to convince Gronk to stay. I just going to say I'm kind of repeating myself from previous couple weeks, but I'm just continually impressed with how he's improved from when you think back to the Iowa game, making his first start, and from where he is now. Obviously, he hasn't faced the same caliber of defenses the last few weeks, but my hope was from facing that 3-game gauntlet of Iowa, Ohio State, Indiana, he maybe could come out as a better quarterback for it and be able to look good against lesser defenses. And, while he certainly wasn't lighting them up the way Calic Manis lit up Penn State yesterday, I mean, he was very efficient. If you look at the stat line, 17 of 21, 209 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown, of course, being the opening scoring drive for Penn State when he hit Rapplier on a 4th down play. I got to say, he was I think Penn State converted 3 4th downs. Some
big ones.
Yeah, 3 for 3. I mean, Gronk played a role in all 3 of those, with the timing and execution.
Did you think the play at the end was picked off? I know a lot of people.
Oh man, I think my heart stopped for a brief moment, because it seemed like, at least from the TV angle, that the Rutgers guy was gonna pick 6 that, or at least just break it up maybe.
Yeah.
But that could have eased. It looked like it could have been pick 6. I guess on replay, you look at the replay, he wasn't that close to doing it, but from the TV angle, it sure looked like it was this close. But yeah, that's what they call it, a game of inches. Rapplier, actually, not to divert to Rapplier again, but I think he took a hit before the first down marker, but brushed that off and moved forward. So
no, and that's, the funny thing with, well, I guess it's not very funny, but with Rapplier is, if he stays healthy last year, I think that he very much easily becomes tight end 2 under Tyler Warren. And this year, it's what we thought Luke Reynolds was going to be. I think Rapplier would have been. And not to pat myself on the back, but I was a massive Rapplier fan coming out of high school. Like, he was one of those guys you watch on film, and it just seemed like he is a step ahead of everyone. Like, just the way that he was able to catch the ball away from his body, turn up field, like, again, like one of the things that, like, Tyler Warren was so good at was being able to be a reliable pass catcher, but then also immediately get upfield. Like, it's one thing to catch the ball, it's another thing to immediately then thereafter be able to make guys miss and gain extra yards. And that was something that Rappleyea always showed on his high school film. So good to see that he's finally getting healthy. I also saw him at the Waffle Shop last Saturday, Tim. I don't know if you saw this. I did say in Slack that I saw Rappleyea at the Waffle Shop on Sunday after the.
I think I remember you saying this.
Yeah. So I could tell just like the look in his eye. I was like, you know what, that guy's going to make some big plays for us against Rutgers. I can see. So good to see that he did that. But yeah, to go back to Gronk again, just plays super solid. Smart kid. Like you said, like starting those first 3 games against Iowa, Ohio State, Indiana is really putting yourself through the fire. It would be interesting to see, like, as much as I think those 3 games, right, they can make or break you. And he certainly went into it with a good mindset of not letting it break him and got better from it. But it would have been interesting if he could have jumped in with a Rutgers to start or Michigan State to start and then kind of went into Iowa. Just who knows if maybe Penn State wins that game, but it doesn't greatly matter.
Now, just want to show this comment from LOL Ray Son. Yeah, he's putting up Grunk's stat line. 17-21 for 209 yards, a touchdown is about as good a stat line as Drew Aller ever put up. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of Drew's better games if Drew put up a stat line like that. I think also I didn't touch on with Gronk. Just again, I think people in the comments are alluding to this, but just like I feel like from a mental perspective too, he just seems more poised. He doesn't get like too up and down emotionally. Like if he has a bad play, brushes it off. He kind of is able to shake off bad plays better, and just it's. I think just also from a standpoint of just maybe scanning the field and just finding his open receiver and not just simply checking down if his first read isn't available, and just seems like more it seems a lot more poised and just with it from a mental perspective, and that's made a difference too. Oh, here we go.
Pat Fitzgerald, Michigan State, person of interest.
Well, my guess is that's probably who they're going to zero in on.
That one seemed pretty obvious.
He did say that just a few minutes
ago. What would you grade a Fitzgerald Michigan State hire?
I mean, I give it I give it a B. It's a decent hire. I mean, I don't know. I guess without thinking real hard about who would be realistic candidates from Michigan State, who they can realistically hire. I mean, Pat Fitzgerald's good. It's fine.
It's also
fun, but I think it's a good. But then again, do we really? I feel like nowadays I'd rather just get a good fit than go for the A+ home run hire, as the sports websites would call it. I mean, look at Brian Kelly and I guess Lincoln Riley maybe to a lesser extent, because but the expectation was that he would be competing for championships at USC, and that hasn't quite been the case just yet.
I think one of the important things is when it comes to coaching searches and it comes to fit, like you said, it's where those programs are at the time when they hire someone. Like for Penn State to hire Pat Fitzgerald, that's just kind of not the kind of coach we need right now coming off of Franklin. Whereas Michigan State, other than they had the one Mel Tucker year in 2021, has kind of been, Michigan State would be pumped for 3 seasons of 7-5, 8-4, and 8-4. And that's just not obviously where Penn State is at, just program wise. So yeah, I think it would be a B. I still am, and this is something that we can't fully get answers to, but why was Northwestern so bad at the end with Pat Fitzgerald, right? 3 of his last 4 seasons, they went 3-9 or 2-10. What are his thoughts on NIL? He doesn't seem necessarily like a guy that would be super progressive on having players be paid millions of dollars, but I don't know that for sure. So we'll see if that hire comes to fruition. Before we talk about the coaching search, though, I do want to talk about you guys, our subscribers. We had 421, I believe, before we went live. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Make sure you are liking the videos as well. And if you're not subscribed, I see right now live, we have 75 people, which thank you for joining us on the Sunday afternoon. Subscribe to the channel. Go ahead, Tim. You have some.
I should note, I was trying to listen to an old show we did like back in August to find out how many subscribers we had back then. We had just eclipsed 200 not too long at one point in late August. So we've gotten over 200. We've gotten at least 200 new subscribers in the last few months. And so I just want to personally thank you all for doing so, whether you're a Penn State fan or you're some fan of another team enjoying a Schadenfreude of
the a-hole Ohio State fans who are talking at us.
Well, we appreciate you you subscribing and watching us. So we see 68 of you tuned in right now to watch a Rutgers post game, and you're here for the coaching search stuff, I'm sure, really. But we appreciate your viewership and subscription. So keep it up.
All right, coaching search. Where do you even begin with all this, man? I don't even know.
I was going to say that I came across a tweet. I don't know if you follow this Jarrett Gold.
Yes. Yeah, I do follow Jarrett.
He said, tweeted this at 1:50. So about 40 minutes ago, said a flight from Knoxville, Tennessee is landing at State College Airport at around 3:20 this afternoon. So that's about, 45 minutes from now. So maybe it's Josh Heupel.
Well, okay. Let's there's so many different angles that we can go with this. I think first and foremost, to level set, I know Penn State fans are frustrated with how long this has gone on, and trust me, I understand that as well. I love a coaching search more than anything in the world. I can't wait until this one is over personally. But I do want to say, I know that there was this idea when Penn State opened up that it was maybe we can hire someone in the middle of the season, or, this was always, today was the first day that anything potentially was going to happen. As far as, potentially hiring someone and getting leaks, stuff like that. Yes, it would have been awesome if on November 10th, we got the Penn State and so are in talks. They're hopeful to reach a deal in the next couple of weeks or so. But today was always going to be day one of the potential cycle of hiring. So the fact that it isn't happening and Penn State fans are losing their mind is very funny I understand saying we need patience when this is, I think, technically day 50, actually day 50 of the coaching search. But this was always going to be just simply day one. I think this is the time frame today to next Sunday, maybe into Monday. But I think next Sunday you would at least get the leaking of stuff. Depends who the coaching candidate is, right? If they're in a conference championship game coming up, maybe Penn State holds off. I don't know if that's the smart or right thing to do with National Signing Day coming up, early National Signing Day. Penn State doesn't really have that many commits left anyway, but you like to think that they would like to try to get someone in to salvage what they can. But even at the very least, the sooner you can make a hire, the better. But again, just important to say, today was always going to be the first day of the timeline of potentially hiring someone. So I don't think that this is Pat Kraft botching anything if something isn't announced today, or it's unacceptable Penn State hasn't hired a head coach. I understand the frustrations, how long this has gone on for, but this was always the most realistic outcome. So Tim, with that, you mentioned Josh Heupel. Everything is on this mystery candidate. Everything is seemingly on this mystery candidate. You mentioned Josh Heupel. There's been some Kalani Sitake talk. There's been some Lincoln Riley talk. This is all not concrete information. And I talked a little bit about this on blackshoediaries.com with my head coaching search news and notes update, posted it late last night. I generally would like to not discuss the Lincoln Riley, Kalani Sitake, Josh Heupel stuff, mystery candidate stuff, just because it's not concrete. There's no actual substance behind it other than some whispers and some murmurs, but nothing solid. But
and flight trackers.
Yeah, and flight trackers, which they're also, you mentioned the Knoxville to State College thing. There was also some State College, Provo to State College. Yeah. So there's also some Los Angeles stuff too. So it's trying to piece together stuff like that is always dangerous, and I don't like doing it. But from all accounts, from national media to local media, Kraft has his thing completely close to the vest. And it sounds like the wide casting net that he put out on the search is for real. The fact that you could talk to Bruce Feldman, Pete Thamel, the Blue and White Illustrated guys, the 24/7 guys, John Sauber, whoever. And I think if you ask them, give me 3 realistic names that Penn State could hire, you could potentially get all completely different answers, which is a credit to Kraft, because them having an idea isn't necessarily a good thing. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but I don't think it's necessarily a good thing. But where do you think this ends up, Tim? I should also, sorry, go ahead. I've been rambling on for a little bit. Where do we think this ends up?
I mean, look, your guess is as good as mine. I've seen some people say, "Oh, well, it's gonna be Chesney or they're going to promote Terry Smith." And if that was going to be the case, that would have been leaked already. You would have gotten a Pete Thamel tweeted about that. You don't stay this tight-lipped or keep things this under wraps for those guys. I know Kalen DeBoer was the hot rumor, and I think when Jared and I kind of put each other in the spot with a prediction last week, and I said Kalen DeBoer, just that was a feeling. But who knows, maybe it could still happen. But at this point, I'm inclined to say mystery man, whoever mystery man might be. Maybe that's Josh Heupel, maybe that's Kalani Sitake, maybe that's Lincoln Riley, maybe that's Brian Dable. I don't know. But
Brent Key and Jeff Brom, those are 2 guys who were involved through various points, have run hot and colds, whether they were interested, whether they weren't interested, whether Penn State was interested, whether it's not. As much as we talk about this mystery candidate and we think it's Kalani Sitake or Lincoln Riley or Josh Heupel or whoever, I truly would not be stunned if Pete Thamel tweeted out today, Penn State is close to finalizing a deal with Matt Campbell or Brent Key or Jeff Brom or Brian Dable or Josh Heupel or whoever. There's almost within reason, there's so many different names I could see it being, which is just crazy. Because 2-3 weeks ago, I felt pretty good that it was going to be Eli Drinkwitz, right? I know one of our discussions was Drinkwitz. If you gave me Drinkwitz and Chesney versus the field, I would take Drinkwitz and Chesney. I no longer think that's the case at all. To your point, I do think that if it were Terry Smith, we wouldn't be continuing down this path.
No.
Chesney, I will push back on a little bit though, Tim. I know that there was a report last night from Matt Zinitz who said, right, Bob Chesney remains a top person of interest or whatever the phrasing was, but the phrasing was in a way that it was making it known that UCLA wanted Chesney, and that UCLA wanted the deal to get done, not that Chesney was necessarily signing with UCLA. So I do think it's interesting that we did get the influx of John Summerall going to Florida this morning. We got the Alex Golash going to Auburn. We got Ryan Silverfield going to Arkansas. We did not get, at this time of recording, 2:41 p.m. East Coast time, Sunday, November 30th. We have not gotten the Bob Chesney UCLA finalizing agreement thing, which I think, what would be the holdup for Bob Chesney?
I mean, he's still hanging on to hope that maybe he gets an offer from Penn State. He just kind of like how Franklin sort of slow played Virginia Tech, hoping that Florida State would open up and he'd pursue that job. But it's probably just Chesney slow playing UCLA, just making absolute certain that Penn State's not going to come in with last minute with an offer.
Yeah.
My point I was trying to make though, Chet, was that if he was the hire, like if he was the guy Penn State was zeroing in on, we know that already. That would have been like last couple days ago. That's what I meant. Like,
no, it certainly seems like he's the backup. Let's go through a little.
I just wanted to address if someone was responding to your day one comment you made. John Gordon, 1941. I think Pat was saying it's day one for
when the hire
knowing who the hire would be, not day one of the
correct
search. So, it could, like Pat said, maybe we know tomorrow, maybe we know Tuesday. I would still guess we probably in the next 24 to 48 hours will know who it is. Now we go, we get to like Wednesday and we still don't know, then
we're going crazy.
Yeah, we're just send help.
And no, to be clear, best case scenario in an ideal world, Penn State makes that hire today. So for people that are upset with Pat Crap that he doesn't have the hire ready today, I do understand that. I truthfully really, really do. I just know that there was a lot of talk on the interwebs about maybe Penn State can make the hire earlier, which unless it was going to be Pat Fitzgerald or Urban Meyer, guys that weren't coaching, that wasn't like super realistic. And I know that, Eric Morris, for example, at North Texas, right? He gets announced for Oklahoma State last week. So perhaps it was more realistic than I thought. I just know in like my mind, November 30th was always like the first day that this hire could potentially get leaked or could potentially get announced, whether that's announced by Penn State or whether that's announced by Pete Thamel, right? Whenever Pete Thamel tweets it out, it's all legally binding at that point, essentially. So I just am curious to see how much longer it goes. John Sauber saying request of no comment for those that know who the target is. Saying request of no comment.
Which kind of makes sense to me because I've noticed when people have been pointing this out too on the message boards, namely the Lion 24/7 board, or just certain insiders have just gone radio silent in the last day, and so it sounds like my guess is they're zeroing in on their guy, but they just don't want to. I guess they don't want this to leak until, it's signed and sealed and delivered.
It's just, and
you don't want a Les Miles in Michigan situation. Like those of you don't remember, like back in 2007 when Lloyd Carr was retiring from Michigan, rumors were heating up. I guess rumors heated up that Les Miles would be the hire. And I think College Game Day actually mentioned it. And then in LSU at the time, like Les Miles, like they were playing for, I think they were preparing for the national championship game, and
I think it was SEC
title game. What? Yeah, they were one win away, I think, from potentially playing in the national championship. So, I just remember, like a day or two after, like Miles came out and just held a press conference, and just refuted the whole thing, and basically just blew up the entire deal. Said like I'm going to be the head coach at LSU, and I'm not going to Michigan. But ever since then, they've tried to be a little. I think ADs are just trying. People know are just trying not to leak things like that. So my guess is there's just this real. I've noticed the radio silence in the past day or two from known insiders, and just
My only pushback on that is I'm not entirely convinced that anyone actually knows who it is, like fully. Like, and I understand. I haven't heard what John Sauber has said. I've said this multiple times. Like John knows what he's talking about very clearly. Has broken a ton of stuff in the past.
I would trust a CDT guy, especially because they're locals. They're embedded. They're locals, and they know the gossip around town. So
yeah, I just even if that's not something that they're comfortable reporting, putting their name on, usually, right, the whisper down the alley, like it eventually gets out, at least within like the Penn State internet sphere. And it just, I can even say for like myself this week, like I was, talking with Penn State friends and sharing like the little tidbits that I sometimes can scrounge up. And there's just a lot of names out there. Like there's people that think it's Lincoln Riley. There's people that think it's Kalani Sitake. I had heard of Kenny Dillingham at one point earlier this week. That was very much wrong, but that's just kind of shows like where all this is at, that people are hearing a lot of different things. And I just think that if you talk to people that know people at Penn State and you said on 3, name who the mystery candidate is, 1, 2, 3, I don't think that you would get a consensus name right now. And that is pretty crazy to think about, right? Like I look at this as if I wasn't a Penn State fan. If this was happening at Florida, that like, oh, Florida has this mystery candidate and they're in close talks and potentially close to signing a deal, I personally would have a little bit of tough time buying it. It just seems like a made up internet college football recruiting message board thing. But you would just think that, right? Like we mentioned, like if it was Terry Smith, you think that they would just announce it. And while I still think like Bob Chesney is alive for the job, if something were to, right, if Penn State could circle back to him, but you would just think if it was Bob Chesney, they would announce Bob Chesney today. Like that would be something pretty easy, simple. I even think like James Madison probably let him coach in the Sun Belt conference title game that they're going to be playing on Saturday. So I don't know. I'm perplexed, Tim. Like I really am.
And they bring up James Madison in a conference championship game because Joel here asks, what does it mean if they don't announce before the following weekend, meaning championship weekend? Personally, I would guess that means Kalen DeBoer is still in play because he's going to be coaching Alabama in the SEC championship game.
You know my thoughts on the Kalen DeBoer.
I know your thoughts, but I mean, I'm just thinking like, what are the reasons? Like, unless it's some other coach, the whale or the mystery man who's coaching in a conference championship game that weekend, they're waiting out for. They wouldn't wait out on Bob Chesney to, coach in the Sun Belt championship game if they're going to announce him. So,
sorry, go ahead.
It'd either be DeBoer or someone who's coaching in the conference championship at like in a power conference or something.
Kalani Sitake potentially.
Kalani Sitake.
No, just put a bow on the Kalen DeBoer stuff, and I know that apparently not everyone agrees with me on this. Auburn needed to win last night. Alabama is going to play in the SEC championship game. There is no way. Let's use our brains, people. There's no way that Kalen DeBoer is going to have Alabama in the SEC championship game and then leave for Penn State, even if they lose. Like it's just not going to happen. And I'll just leave the Kalen DeBoer stuff at that. If Kalen DeBoer comes to Penn State on this show, I will take a 12-pack of eggs and smash him against my face and do the entire show with egg on my face. That is a promise to you guys.
I'm gonna make note of that right now, yes. Pat.
43 minutes and 10 seconds in. That's when I said it. I will smash eggs on my face and do the entire. I'm gonna keep my shirt on.
Got some more. Got another breaking news for you, Pat. Pete Thamel says an Ole Miss source tells ESPN that Pete Golding, that's a defensive coordinator there, will be the permanent head coach. It's 100% permanent, the source said. So looks like Ole Miss will just be promoting from within.
That whole thing, by the way, like if you are Penn State aside, right? Like let's say that Lincoln Riley says, I'm going to go be an offense coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys or something, and they open up. And that's a job that Kalen DeBoer wants, being a guy that used to coach on the West Coast at one point, and maybe wants to go to USC. You see how this whole Lane Kiffin Ole Miss situation, and maybe a lot of it is Lane's own doing, but talk about a mess. Like if you're a coach that is seeing how this has transpired, you are thinking to yourself, all right, this is probably even worse than you could have imagined of how this is all unfolded. And to be clear, like I know ESPN has done a really good job of make sure that Lane is the victim in all this. Lane is not the victim whatsoever. Like, he's deciding to go to LSU. He's mad that he can't coach at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is rightfully being like, you're going to be recruiting for LSU while coaching our team. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But not a Lane Kiffin podcast. Tim, let's go through some names. And I just want you to, I was going to say on a scale 1 to 10, but since you're the position grades guy, we'll do grades. So A+, A minus, B+, B, B minus, etc. Just go through some names and you give me what you would grade it if they were the hire at Penn State. We'll start with who I know is your favorite, Kalen DeBoer. What would you, in this, me with egg on my face, what would you grade Kalen DeBoer?
But that's an A hire, maybe an A+ hire even. You know, guy's a proven head coach, took Washington to the national championship game. His teams usually have prolific offenses, which is something Penn State, you know, sorely needs. So the guy just wins. So I would, give it an A.
Kalani Sitake.
I think when you factor in just like, geographic fit and all that, I guess I would give it like I almost want to give it like an incomplete because I guess I haven't thought too much about him. But if you're going to put me on the spot, I'd say maybe like, B minus, C plus. There's potential for him to succeed. I mean, I like what he's done with BYU this year. Obviously, Big Ten is going to be a step up from the Big 12 in terms of competitiveness. Sure. But, he seemed like a guy who would bring in that. Maybe it's from looking at him, but he kind of brings in that old school, like, toughness. And I think.
Do you know what position he played, Tim, when he was a player?
Fullback. You love the fullback, so you probably give it a higher grade than I do. But I'd say B minus, C plus.
Listen, I understand. Like, when I first heard the Sitake thing, I was like, "This is absolutely insane." I can talk myself into anyone to be very clear. Like, that is like not Brian Kelly, not Pat Fitzgerald, but within reason. My thing with this whole coaching hire is coaching hires are not, they're not easy. Like, what you think is a grand slam is not necessarily a grand slam. What you think is a bad hire is not. So the coach is going to come in. They're going to go to their press conference. They're going to say, man, this place has everything. This is a dream job for me. This is one of the elite jobs. We're going to get this place back, right? And then I'll be all in. So it could have been Manny Diaz, who I don't really like. It could have been Bob Chesney, who I've grown super fond of. I would like it no matter what.
Well, heck, you're describing how I felt after seeing Bill O'Brien's press conference.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Because I was livid when I found out he was the hire.
Yeah.
Who? This rando who, coaching the page. Oh, great. He's from the Bill Belichick tree. Maybe he's like another Charlie Weiss type who can come in and think he's knows it all. But then I saw his press conference and I'm like, okay, this guy gets it. And he's going to help modernize the program. So let's roll. So
yes,
I agree. Whoever the coach is, I think, if their press conference is solid, I'm sure I'll be all in on them.
The thing with Sitake, former fullback, Polynesian from Tonga, those two things mean a lot to me. I love Polynesians. I love fullbacks. Like, I can talk myself into that, no problem. Even the Mormon thing of like culturally, is he a fit?
There's a Mormon church in State College, so that
there's two, I believe. There's two, and no one can say that Mormon coaches haven't succeeded at Penn State. Kale Sanderson, Kale and Kalani just being best friends, Mormon best friends. This is like a movie script or something. I can talk myself into Kalani Sitake pretty easily, and I do think I think he's a really good coach. I think if Jed Fish had left Washington, I think if Lincoln Riley leads USC, I think that he would would be an A+ hire at schools like that. He clearly knows what he's doing. I mean, the last 6 seasons at BYU, 11-1, 10-3, 8-5, 5-7, 11-2, and 11-1. So he's won 11 games at BYU in 3 of the last 6 seasons. He had another 10-win season in there. He's done a very good job, and BYU is independent for part of that as well. I know Notre Dame doesn't have a problem with being independent, but that's not necessarily a good thing for other schools. It would be like a major drastic shift to come here It's a different beast recruiting wise. But man, if Kalani Sitake, who's is ingrained in that BYU community, is a graduate, is saying I'm prepared to lead this place to go to Penn State because I think I can win there. Like, I don't know. I think that would show that his heart is in it. And I'm just telling you guys, like, whether you think the hire is going to suck, whether you think he's not going to succeed or what, as a person, he's a pretty cool guy. Like, I've been doing more and more research and just hearing him. I think that he would get a lot of people on board. Whether that would lead to success, I don't know, because it is, again, West Coast guy, Polynesian. That is, it's different at Penn State. Doesn't mean he can't succeed, but it certainly is different. Brent Key, Georgia Tech's Brent Key. That their season is regular season is over at 9-3.
I think similar grade to Sitake, like B-, C+. I just I maybe it's because Georgia Tech kind of stumbled towards the end of this season and left a bit of a bad taste in my mouth. And I do wonder how much of his success is just Haynes King related, similar to like Clark Lee. How much of that success of his is really because of Diego Pavia? That's not to say that he wouldn't be a success at Penn State if he came here, but I would just have some questions similar to Sitake.
Yeah, I like Key a lot. I'd still would be, pretty pumped if he was the hire. Culturally, of course, just being a Southerner, guy who hasn't really coached in the Northeast at all.
Which is the same issue with Eli Drinkwitz.
I don't think he's as Southern based as Drinkwitz, though. And there's not like a great way for me to describe it, but well, to be honest with you, it's that Drinkwitz kind of looks like a nerd, and Brent Key is not a nerd. He's a meat and potatoes guy, blue collar, at least comes off like that more than Drinkwitz. So I do think that he could have a little bit more success. I just think he's a good ball coach. I think he would fit quite well with Penn State's identity as like a football team of toughness. I guess not defense, because Georgia Tech's defense has been up and down. But I would be curious what Key can do with at a place with resources like Penn State. Little surprised that he wasn't really mentioned all that much for Auburn, for LSU, even for Florida. So perhaps he is just happy at Georgia Tech and they're hammering out extension. He's an alum there, so that could potentially be the case. But I would be pretty happy if they circled back around to Brent Key. Lincoln Riley.
No, Lincoln. I think I would give it. I give it a B, maybe a B+. I think his offense is, especially the passing game, would be pretty good. He'd bring in some damn good quarterbacks. I just question, would the offense be too finesse? And also just his defenses have never been, they've been from like mediocre to just downright putrid. And, my concern is just, we'd have to win, a bunch of shootouts to get past the top opponents on the schedule.
One of my pushbacks on Kalen DeBoer, knowing that I was being devil's advocate, was that if you can't win at Alabama, why should I believe that you're going to come to Penn State and win? That would also be my question for Lincoln Riley. You couldn't succeed at USC, so why would I think that you can succeed at Penn State? It'd be entertaining, right? I think Penn State could definitely have some seasons where they go 11-1, that they can go 9-3 and have, be more exciting than other 9-3 teams. But I just think he's kind of a loser, and I don't really want that. So I wouldn't.
As long as it's not Coach Prime or Brian Kelly.
Well, I have good news for you. I don't think it's going to be. But no, just with Riley, I couldn't be upset at Lincoln Riley as a coach, but it'd almost be like the Drinkwitz thing of he's a good coach, he'd probably do well. I don't really like him as a person. I just would rather not have him in my life. So I'm not really big on Lincoln Riley. I want him to be the head coach. Josh Heupel, you mentioned the plane from Knoxville. That it definitely has Josh Heupel on it, 100%. We know he's on the flight. What were your thoughts on Josh Heupel?
I'd like to grade it. I guess I give it a maybe like B minus. I think I like his offenses have been pretty good at Tennessee. And they got to the playoff last year. I know he's upset Alabama when Saban was still there. I know this year they kind of took a step back, but he had pretty good success at Tennessee. I'm not saying Tennessee is some low grade program by any means. I mean,
It was in a tough spot when he got there, though.
it was in a bad spot, and he made them a consistent winner again. So, I mean, I think it would, it'd be a solid, I think, B level hire.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think there's only maybe, Kalen DeBoer one. I mean, I don't know who the other potential name you mentioned I would consider an A hire, but there's probably a lot of B level hires, which will be
we'll just do these four: Sataki, Key, Riley, and Heupel. How would you rank them 1 through 4? 1 being who you want the most, 4 being who you want the least. Because I would rank them Key, Sataki, Heupel, Riley.
If we're doing from most to
who you want the most, who you'd like to see at Penn State the most, I would go Key 1, then Sataki, then Heupel, then Riley.
I think I'd probably go Riley and then Heupel.
I like that we're complete reverse order. Which is just this coaching search is wild.
He and Sataki.
Okay. Yeah. No, I get that. That's I'm not saying I have no idea.
I don't think there's a wrong answer to this. Yeah. It's just personal preference, really.
Tom Fornelli, whenever there's a hire made, will just tweet out for example, Alex Golesh. Great hire by Auburn, hiring Alex Golesh. I have no idea how it's going to work out. And that is basically my thoughts on coaching searches at this point. Because
I'd probably make similar comments if Alex Golesh was like a prime candidate for the Penn State job. Okay, I guess it'd be a good hire, but I don't know how it will work out.
But Fornelli makes it for every single one. Even if Penn State hired Nick Saban, it would be like Nick Saban is a great hire for Penn State. I have no idea how it will work out because every year you see these A+ hires and then they don't win much of anything. We
all remember Scott Frost being an A+ hire at Nebraska. Yes. Look how that turned out.
2 last names: Bob Chesney. I love Bob Chesney. I'll just say that. If I had to put down someone right now, I don't know. Again, I go back and forth, but I would really like.
I would probably. Man, I mean, I think I could see this being I could talk myself into give this a B grade.
Yeah, I know Chesney isn't actually young. He just looks young. He's 47, which is I think older than I think that's older than Brent Key. I think it was definitely older than Eli Drinkwitz, but.
Older than Lincoln Riley.
Yes. But that's my thing of Heupel and Riley to me, almost feel not rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, but it's sort of just moving pieces around. It's in the NFL when they just hire the same old guys and it's okay, that's fine, but it's nothing fantastic or great. I would just rather take the gamble of sorts. And I don't know, I just get the feeling that we're going to look back at this and be oh, Chesney is a psycho, just wins. Doesn't matter if he's at Salve Regina, doesn't matter if he's at UCLA, it doesn't matter where he's at. The guy just gets winners. So I understand Penn State fans who are he's never coached above the Sun Belt and he only has 2 years there. It's a big jump to Penn State. Absolutely. Completely understand that. But I don't know. There's no one else obvious out there that I'm that is the guy. And I just kind of think that we'll look back at this and say Chesney should have been it, but perhaps I'm wrong in that. I will certainly take that into account. And last but not least, Terry Smith. I assume we're good with no Terry Smith at this point.
Yeah, Smith, that's a C, level higher at best. I mean, look, I appreciate what Terry's done to right the ship, mid-season. get them bowl eligible after losing 6 straight. But it's just not. You got to bring someone else in. We need some fresh thinking. We need you kind of need to kind of hit the reset button on the culture and the program and just organization. Try something different.
Yeah. Love Terry.
I hope the next coach does keep him around, though, does try to keep him around, because I think he could be a real asset for Penn State. He loves Penn State. Obviously, he played there. His dad went there. His kids went there.
Who did he play under? I haven't heard.
Some guy, Paterno.
Something like that, yeah. I was in the Nebraska game. I took part in the Terry chants. I might have had a few beverages or so I was unaware that me chanting Terry meant that I wanted Terry as the next head coach. I thought that we were I just thought it was like a fun atmosphere, like felt good for the guy. I didn't realize that I was creating a national narrative that Penn State fans only want Terry Smith, but apparently that is what came of that. Again, if Terry's like the announced guy, like I'll be all in. I'll jump off the cliff with him, but I don't want it to be Terry Smith. And he's done an admirable job. He's done a good job. Yeah, beat Rutgers barely. You had a really good win against Nebraska and a solid win against Michigan State, who now has also fired their head coach. And you lost other games that you were expected to lose, but I just don't know if he did enough as the interim to be like, oh, that needs to be the move. So.
And Lane Kiffin just made it official. He's leaving for LSU.
Wow. Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Wow. That is, I mean, not shocking at this point. I assume that, do we have anything on? So he's not coaching. It's just going to be Golding. That is
going to be Golding. I think sounds like Golding's going to be the permanent head coach too.
I'm curious to see if this pushes the powers that be, whoever they are. I don't even know who really runs all this stuff anymore, to change the schedule of all of this. With like early National Signing Day needs to just be eliminated and move back to February.
Yes.
The portal. This is a conversation for a longer time, but I just think it's like, I know all these coaches in an ideal world, they want to get the recruits in December or get them in January so that they can take part in workouts and spring practices. They want the portal to open for the same reasons. It just seems to me that we need to put a pause on all this stuff while the season is going on. Play the games, let the coaches stay at their places, let the players stay at their places. You have signing day in February. You then have the portal open after the spring semester, and you figure things out from there. Because doing all of this as Ole Miss is, going to get a 5 seed or a 6 seed or whatever. It's ridiculous. It's so stupid, and there is no easy fix to it. Like, no matter what, you're going to upset the apple cart of some sort, whether it's not allowing early enrollees now at this point, because I don't think that I just don't think that really makes sense with just the timeline of all of this. Like, you want to do the playoff, you want to have the money that you generate from the playoffs. This just isn't feasible, and hopefully this will be a catalyst for all of that changing. Because
I see a couple of people in here asking, is Lane taking his staff with? From what I've read, he's taking his offensive staff with him to LSU. Because the guy who's got promoted to the permanent gig was a defensive coordinator. So I think don't know but defensive staff, but offensive staff's following Lane to LSU.
Yeah, crazy. Imagine this happening in the NFL, like the head coach of the Panthers making the playoffs, and before the playoffs starts, he's like, "Oh, I'm actually going to go coach the Cowboys, who didn't make the playoffs." Just dumbest sport in the world, which is why we love it. But also, they need to fix this, because this is really Ole Miss's greatest season in their football history. I mean, within recent history, and the fact that it's marred by all of this is just. It's a shame, but we'll see what happens. Not Penn State's problem at this point, but hopefully it doesn't become a problem in the future. Tim, I know actually before we'll end on this, gun to your head, who is the next Penn State head coach?
Man, since I have no earthly idea, I know I'm going to very well be wrong on this one. Probably
no, 100%. I will
98% chance I'm wrong on this. I'm going to stick with Kalen DeBoer.
Okay. Kalen DeBoer. I will say I'm going to say Jeff Brom.
Okay.
Things got really quiet there after the leak of the extension, partly because Louisville lost a bunch of games in a row. They lost 3 games in a row. They did beat Kentucky yesterday, 41-0. Ends the season 8-4. I have no reason to say that. I wouldn't be shocked of anyone at this point. Just about anyone. Which
I'd be all right with that hire. I'd had some questions, but also we've seen him do well at a Big Ten, well for their standards at Purdue. So it would be an interesting hire.
Yeah,
Bromsexual would be ecstatic about it. So
yes, me and my fellow Bromsexuals. I hope this ends soon. I would like to say that maybe we'll be on later today. Maybe we'll be on at some point tomorrow. But
I was kind of hoping we'd know today when we're doing this, but maybe we'll know tonight, or maybe we'll like I said, maybe tomorrow. I hope this isn't dragging to Tuesday, but
yeah.
But hopefully the next 24 to 48 hours we'll know, and then we'll try and get a emergency.
At least get something. Get like a leaking of Penn State is down to these 2 people, these 3 people. They're interviewing this person. Like, give me something to go off of other than us here saying Kalen DeBoer, Kalani Sitake, or Jeff Brom, or Brent Key, or Bob Chesney, or Terry Smith, or Brian Dable, or Cliff Kingsbury, or all these different names that we're mentioning, because it's just been a lot. All right. And that's all we got. I like to say we'll be back at some point this week whenever the hire is made. We'll do, no matter what, I guess, if the Penn State hire does not come to fruition, we will be doing a show Wednesday, despite the fact that we don't have any game to preview. But I feel like it is our blogger duties to at least come on and scream about this and basically do this all again, just talk aimlessly about coaches. But hopefully a hire will be made and we'll be going live shortly thereafter to discuss it, whoever it might be. So thank you all for watching this one today as we just meandered through almost every coach in college football and how they might be coming to Penn State, but we don't know for sure. Once again, make sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're liking the videos, and we will see you when we see you.